All right, we are live. Hello. Oh shit, I forgot to put some music. There we go. All right, I got this. I am one of your two hosts today. My name is Belinda. I'm the editor-in-chief here at NÜFLY, and I'm excited to do episode 2 of Reset here with MIINKAY, my co-host today. MIINKAY, you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, my name's MIINKAY. I am a life coach and professional listener. Specifically, I do career coaching, but I can coach everything. And Belinda is one of my very good friends. And we started this with mutual respect and wanting to change the realm of mental health in the world. So thanks for being here. And I think Belinda will start us off with our topic this week.
Yes, our topic this week is how has growing up Asian American affected our mental health over time? It's definitely a deep one that I've been personally going through some dark times this past week with, especially. And I put together some clips from this movie called Better Luck Tomorrow, directed by Justin Lin. Was released in 2002, but still somehow a lot of things that they talked about in the movie really resonated with me still, and I just wanted to share some clips with you guys. So yeah, all right, hold on one second. I'm gonna start us off.
How many calories in each stick?
550.
How many grams of fat?
32 grams, but we do cook it in vegetable oil.
I'll take 2 then. Could I have mine extra crispy?
Sure, no problem. It's not as hard as it looks. All it takes is the extra 5 minutes reading the manual after you get hired. And the way I saw it, as long as it made it on my college application, it was all worth it. You just can't count on good grades to get into a decent school anymore. They say if you repeat something enough times, it becomes part of you. Punctilious. Adjective. Marked by or concerned about precise, exact accordance with the details of codes or conventions. It's amazing what the right piece of clothing can do for your image. I knew it was all bullshit, but hell, I was milking it for all it was worth. At first, it didn't matter that I rarely saw any playing time. I was part of the team. But like everything else in life, you get sick of it. At least it'll look good on my college app.
Look at that ass. Yeah, what's up, Ben?
Hey, Derek.
Hey, you got a sec? I'm trying to finish up this assignment.
Okay.
Cool. So, Ben, how do you feel about being a bench warmer?
What?
Well, you don't get to play much, right?
Yeah, but we all have our roles on the team.
And what is your role?
I don't know, I just hustle.
Well, then how come you don't get to play in the games?
Well, it's up to the coach.
Well, how do you feel about being the token Asian on the team?
What?
It's obvious to everyone the only reason that you're on the team is for cosmetic ones.
That's bullshit. I bust my ass to be on this team.
But you never get to play.
So what? I'm still on the team.
Well, your coach could have picked anyone he wanted you just to sit on the bench.
Maybe you should just ask him then.
Okay. Awesome. Thanks, buddy. Hey, Takeshi, can you give me a few close-ups and a couple wides?
Yeah, you got it.
All right, the topic is population control. Why retarded children and handicapped people should be executed in order to keep the population down. Ready? Is that true?
I think it was.
Because it didn't sound like you knew it. Make sure your glasses are anti-glare, okay? Excellent.
Decathlon practices were always held at Derek's house. His methods were definitely unconventional, but effective.
Beautiful. Go out, sister. Paper. Oh, fuck. I'm so unworthy at this moment. Dude, you're gonna explode, man. I don't like that shit.
Quixotic, adjective. Extravagantly idealistic, unpredictable, unrealistic, or imaginary.
You happy, Ben? I'm serious. You happy?
I don't know.
It's the most truthful thing I've ever heard. At least you have a choice.
You're not happy?
I'm very happy. Isn't it obvious? I have everything. Loving parents, top grades, Ivy League scholarships, of course, Stephanie.
Of course.
Right there. That's it. So fucking happy I can't stop it.
Why not?
It's a never-ending cycle. When you got everything you want, what's left? You can't settle for being happy. That's a fucking trap. You gotta take life into your own hands. Do whatever it takes to break the cycle. That's what it is. Breaking the cycle.
You're fucked.
I envy you. What? 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 What?
MIINKAY, man, how do you feel?
Yeah, I feel so like I can relate to all those things. That was like my childhood in a nutshell.
Yeah,
You know.
did you feel that way?
Yeah, working hard all the time, parents pushing you to work hard and do better and do things to get into college, to get into the best college, to get the best grades so that you could prove that you were the best one.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Right? Chinese culture is a lot about, proving you're the best, but then doing it in a humble way.
Yes. It's all about humility. You must sit on the bench.
Yeah.
Right.
But also you have to be better than everybody and get the best grades and be on all the be academically the best, because that's what you can do, right? The stereotype is Asians aren't as good at athletics, but they're great at academics, math, science, numbers, all that jazz, and then getting into the best school. But then even when you have everything, you have the hot girl, you're captain of the baseball team, you're still not happy. Because there's that idea of you still need to do more. There's more. You can always do more. You can always be better.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, sometimes that's a good way to think. But when you take it to the extreme that I grew up with, it becomes toxic. You're never satisfied, and you don't have time to be happy.
You're just
'cause you don't let yourself.
eternally, you're eternally chasing after that elusive carrot in front of you.
Yeah, and it's mental. Because you think, you push yourself to think, oh, there's more, there's better, I'm missing something.
You're stuck in this
really-
endless loop, right?
Yeah, exactly. But reality is that you know, that kid, we all probably had a really good situation, and we just didn't let ourselves bask in that goodness because we kept pushing ourselves to go further and further and further and further and further.
The grind, right? You got to be hustling all the time.
Yeah. The hustle is normal, and that you should be hustling, and that if you're not hustling, you're doing something wrong. That's the culture, the feeling.
It's so extreme, you know? You're either like a lazy bum or you're a workaholic. Like, you can't achieve some kind of inner peace, you know? Like, the work culture in Asia is crazy too. Like, people in Japan, dude, like, they're expected to work on Saturday. Like, day 6 is, and that's not an overtime day. Like, that's just to be expected. I was reading on Studio Ghibli and how it works inside that company, and they had to create like an international division to distribute their films, right? Like, or else we wouldn't have been able to see Spirited Away, or to have all these like crazy actors like doing the dubbing and stuff. Like, they had to create a little international like division to distribute that. There was like only, I think they started off with like 6 people or something, but they had like their own offices. Like, even how like their office layouts are very like cramped. Like, you're next to the next, you know, you're sharing a table. Like, everything is shared. Like, there's no space. There's no sense of boundary inside Asian culture. And I think that's something that we're only just starting to grasp now, you know, as like a first generation born here.
That's so
you know
true.
what I mean?
Yeah. I used to have a diary. I used to have, you know, yearbooks when your friends will sign your yearbook and write notes to you. And my parents would read all that stuff.
Wow.
And when I caught them doing that, I was like, why are you doing that? Stop. And they're like, why can't we read this? Because they didn't have that boundary.
Yeah, they feel entitled to it.
Yeah, their thought process was like, your stuff is my stuff, so I can read this. Because that's how they grew up. Yeah.
That's crazy.
I was horrified. I was like, why?
Like,
Stop.
no privacy.
Yeah, we would have arguments about privacy, and their belief was that doesn't exist in a house. Nobody has privacy. But at the time, I thought they just made that up so that they could read my stuff, right? But now I realize that it's a little bit of both, maybe. That the culture was such that they didn't have that growing up, and everything was shared, and nobody had diaries and things like that, and so they pushed that onto us. Yeah, but I think the biggest, hardest mental thing was just the pushing,
the constant
like, do better.
pushing.
Yeah, the constant pushing. Do more. Do better, do this, do that. Why aren't you doing this? Why aren't you doing that? Why can't you be like this? And comparing.
The comparing, dude. That's...
Yeah. Always comparing. Always comparing to somebody else who did it better. Why can't you be like them? What's, you know, even though they might not say what's wrong with you, you think to yourself, what's wrong with me? Why can't I be like them? Why can't I do the things that this person does? Why can't I be good at basketball? Why can't I be good at math? Why can't I be good at this? Why can't I be good at that? So many negative. This is a negative way of thinking.
It's a very competitive way of thinking.
Competitive and negative. Because there can be positive competitive thinking.
Oh, for sure. For sure.
You're right. But this was a negative comparison, pushing, nagging, to the point of nagging and being harsh and annoying. So yeah,
it's very overbearing. You know, it's really crazy because it's a very hot and cold situation. Like my parents were super hands off with me when I was a little kid. You know, they were like, "You go figure it out." Like we had to figure it out. You got to go figure it out. And then as soon as you get to like an adult age, they start babying you. It's like, who the fuck set up this system here? Like why couldn't I have gotten this earlier? Like why does it have to be reversed, and why does it have to be tainted with such almost manipulation, you know? Like I don't know, man.
It's like they didn't know how to positively influence you, so they know how to negatively influence you, which is through controlling you, manipulating you, making you feel bad about something so that you do what they want you to do. And there's always this idea that
the guilt tripping, dude. Yes, it's the guilt and the shaming. The guilt and the shame, like that's
the core of Asian parental manipulation.
That's facts though. That's real.
It's that's because they don't know how to positively influence. And there's this belief system that the oldest and the oldest is the wisest. But that's not true. It's not always true. Theoretically, the oldest should be quote unquote wiser, but there's so many varying experiences in life, you can't compare people to people. At least that's what I'm learning now, is the oldest doesn't always know what's best. And so just the fact that you have to listen to the oldest is always right, or the oldest knows best, that's like an antiquated way of thinking. And I think it holds them back, because then based on that belief, they automatically submit themselves to parents or people that are older than them, or just, you know, and even people they don't know that are older than them. You're taught to like blindly trust because you're supposed to trust. Your elders.
Yeah. Filial piety, you know what I mean? Like if you see an elder, you know, at the bottom of a hill or a mountain, and they gotta climb up and they got a lot of stuff on their back, you're supposed to carry them up the mountain. Like you're supposed to self-sacrifice as much as you can, you know?
Yeah.
It's so fucked up, man. like dude, it's such a mind fuck. Like I can't even, it's hard to wrap my mind around.
I think it's such a big mindfuck for us because we grew up in America.
Yeah.
And
with very different values. Very different.
Americans don't have that value. They love their grandparents, yeah, but they don't think they have to pick up and clean up after them and do everything for them.
I think it's because this place is a place of privilege. You know what I mean? Like people in Asia, they don't have the space that we have here, like literal physical space. You know, like if I were still in Hong Kong right now, I would be in a really, like, this would be my room actually, and this would be the only space that I would have to myself ever, you know, like, and even this room is kind of a luxury. Like it's really small spaces in Asia, and in certain third world countries, like you're supposed to take on your parents' business, you know, like if they owned a restaurant or if they owned some kind of construction site or something, you know what I mean? Like you would take over that business and then that would be yours, and it's the endless loop, dude. That endless loop. Like your family has like a role and you just play that role and that's it. Like there's no thought of individualism. There's no thought of dreaming, you know, like we have here, like the luxury of that we have here. Being
able to express yourself.
Yeah, like, dude, they don't have stand-up comedy in China. Like, freedom of expression. Like, that's not, you know what I mean? Like, everything's very factory tailored in China. It's not like you can just make an independent, like, it's really hard to make something original. You know what I mean? Like they need to have everything tested out, and it needs to be like, okay, we know for sure that this is gonna make hella money. You know what I mean? Like that's the core value.
Yeah, they're all about the family unit. If it doesn't fit into the family unit, it's irrelevant. You shouldn't do it. It's not gonna work. But here in America, they praise that. They're like, if you're individual, you go do what you want. You go do what you believe in. You work hard, and then you make your wealth. The American dream is all about individualism and also about money.
But everything is really about money, you know. In almost every culture, like that's the
Money is king.
yeah, money is king.
Yeah, which is the one thing that Americans and Chinese do have in common is money is king. You got to make that money. You got to get rich. Yeah. And it's always pushing you to make more money, move up the ladder, get to the next thing. If you're on the bottom, you move up until you're managing people, and then you're going to manage, more people, and then you become CEO, and you get into the C-suite of all these companies, and then you have all this wealth, and you are the best.
It's crazy, dude. It's crazy.
Yeah.
I just want to break the loop, I think that's what that movie was talking about, Better Luck Tomorrow, like breaking out of that loop. Like we're supposed to be the bench warmer, we're supposed to be quiet, we're supposed to do our role, be that person, and like how do you get out of it? Like that guy, the main character, he was the whole basketball scene at the end when he stops, like we're just shooting basketballs all day, like just endless, like just get as many free throws as you can get in, as many, like it's a numbers game, right? So like I think he was trying to beat some record, like percentage of baskets that he would get, just like 90% or something out of like 200 like shots, like he was like trying to beat a record, it's like, but does it matter at the end of the day? You know what I mean? Like, does it matter? And you have to think to yourself, like, okay, what do I really want to spend my time doing? That movie is such like a mindfuck, dude. Like at the end of it, it's such like a moral question, like how do you feel about these two being together now? Like after all that, because it's a complicated situation that we have to get into, because this country was not built for us, like we're the children of immigrants that were only allowed to really come here in the last like few decades, right? And then the African American or the Black diaspora, like they've been going through like hundreds of years of slavery and like the systemic racism and just like pushing you to the edge. You know what I mean? Like this, this human race, like who's the best one? Like who has the best shit? Like how, like what deal did you get on that? It's like, it's crazy, man. It's I wonder what would be like if money wasn't the main currency for how we lived our life, That's what I think about sometimes.
Yeah, I think that's what's got to change. Values have to change. And the way that we see people has to change. We got to take care of each other instead of think about, oh, what can I get out of this person? If there was more mutual input, people giving in as much as they get out, then the world would be better, I think. And also value, not valuing money as the main source of your happiness, valuing something else, and valuing yourself, right? Both cultures are all about you're not good enough, you gotta always be better.
You're a failure if you don't meet these requirements. Like that's what I've been feeling like a failure, like, oh, I didn't take care of my finances, but every other part of my life is rich except the money part. You know what I mean? Because like I focus too much on the other stuff, like just trying to be there for other people and trying to connect the dots and trying to like you know, when I see someone in pain or I see them going through a struggle, like I want to help in some kind of way, but like I can't be holding their hand. So I do it in like a very, you know, a roundabout way. But like, you know, that can be a little draining. And it's crazy, like living in two worlds of thought, right? Like being like our parents being from Asia and having those core values that we have to figure out how to live with, because we have like one foot in that world and then one foot in here, you know, in America, where that's not the core value for most people, and you have to work with other types of thought, you know, and that creates so much anxiety. Like that's, I mean, I feel like I like growing up with so much confusion of like, what am I supposed to believe and think and like act like, you know, what kind of face am I supposed to have? And that created so much like anxiety. I had like serious insomnia growing up. Like I couldn't go to sleep at night. I had like super bad like allergies and stomach issues. I used to like take Benadryl and Advil and like Pepto-Bismol, like in this endless loop, like because I had so much, like I was just so stressed out, and I had to like find outlets, you know, like doing graphic design and like just and like photography, just picking up a camera and like just escaping into a different world. I think like that's why I was like reading all these books growing up too, and I had to like read a bunch of books that got me out of this thought, you know, like reading books, you realize, oh, not everybody thinks like this group of people. Like there's a lot of different groups of people that think different kinds of things, and you can find people that you really gravitate towards and then develop that school of thought, you know.
Yeah, totally. I think you're so right on like managing our beliefs. Because once you've kind of figured out like, oh, this is what my parents believe, and I don't have to believe that, I can adopt something else, is when you start to be like, okay, I'm my own person. Because they don't foster that, right? They don't foster individualism, but America does. And so it's good that we have all those ideas too, I think, so we can choose to live our own way. But that also takes recognizing, okay, what have I already unconsciously adopted from my parents as a kid that kept me up at night, like what you experienced, that now I don't have to hold on to. I don't have to be the way they want me to be. I can instead choose to become somebody else or hold on to another belief. And I think that's when I started to really undo a lot of my inner programming, because I realized a lot of my inner programming was making me unhappy and keeping me negative and keeping me in this ugly place that didn't feel good to live in, where I would just always look to, and I still sometimes look to, you know, quell it through TV or alcohol or weed or something, right? Because it's like
something to cope with it, right? We have to come up with all these like coping mechanisms.
Yes, yeah, that's the word I'm looking for. Because you live with this inner turmoil from all these belief systems that we grew up with that are constantly berating us. That if we don't let them go, we don't quell the internal struggle, then we're going to always be living with our parents in our heads telling us, do this, do that, do this, do that, be this way, be that way.
Is their way always the best way though? You know, like that's what we have to ask, right?
Yeah, that's the question. Because sometimes they have good advice and sometimes they don't. And now that we're adults, it's realizing, okay, I'm an adult. I can choose to not do what they tell me to do. Even as kids, theoretically, you should have that choice, but you're so shamed and manipulated into doing what they want you to do that you don't really have, that going against that choice is harder. Right? But now that we have our own lives, we have more choice and we can stand up for ourselves more. And
just
it feels good.
communicating too. There's so much
Yeah.
like assumption in Asian culture, you know, like they just assume, or at least specifically just Hong Kong culture, Hong Kong Chinese culture, at least for me, like that I've had to experience. They just they love to assume things. They want to be able to guess what your next move is without talking to you. Like it's all about being clever, you know, like they love being clever, dude. Like that's the biggest trait that I've noticed. Like they put a lot of value in that. And I'm like, all
But
right.
they don't do what you need to do to be clever, which is communicate.
Yeah. That's the more clever thing to do, actually. Like, so that we're not confused on what the fuck's happening right now. Like,
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I had a conversation with my mom a couple months ago, and she asked me all these questions about my life. Why didn't you do this, or why did you do that? And for me, I just answered them because she had never asked me those questions before. She was like, "Oh, I thought you did this because of this. I thought you got this. I got you got an engineering degree because you like math and science." And I was like, "No, I got it because you and Daddy wanted me to get that degree." And I didn't know what else I would do. And so she was like, "But you had your own choice to choose your own major." And I was like, "No."
you pushed it on me. You pushed it.
If I had chosen a different major, then
They would have
Daddy
reacted terribly.
Exactly. Daddy would have yelled at me, would have been mad, would have been annoyed. And I could prove my point because my little brother chose a major that wasn't engineering, and he got all that berating. He got talked to all the time. He got questioned all the time. What are you going to do with that? It's not going to get you anywhere. And so that proved my point too. You know, my mom couldn't say, "Oh, he wouldn't do that," because he did that to my brother.
So you have a perfect example. Like,
Exactly. I was like, I didn't want to go through that. And I'm proud of my little brother did. But also him going through that kind of fucked him up a little bit too, because it's shitty to have your parents talk to you that way. And he still talks to him that way. So like, won't let it go. Yeah, exactly. So it's
the stubbornness is it's hard to deal with, man. It's hard to deal with. And then when they push you so hard, like for me personally, like my experience was I had to figure out how to create an armor around me. You know what I mean? Like I had to figure out protections, coping mechanisms, ways of dealing, you know, or else I was like a really sad, depressed little kid, man. Like my parents, I was the only kid too, and just dealing with my mom like beating me up as a kid, and then my dad being absent and like unhelpful until I was in my teenage years. Like, you know, where were you during the hardest times, man? Like growing up, like, man, those like from first grade till fifth grade was like a fucking nightmare. Actually, up until eighth grade too. But like sixth to eighth grade wasn't as bad. I was just like playing a lot of basketball for the most part during that time. But it was bad, dude. Just like dealing with two adults that had a marriage like burn up at the end, like really terribly. You don't know what the fuck happened, right? And also they have like, they're also Chinese American too, you know, and they're like, but they had to immigrate here. They had to work really hard, you know, to stay here. They had to work like multiple jobs, and they did. And when I went to college, like the stipulation was that I couldn't have a job. Like I was gonna have to focus entirely on this school. Like if they were gonna pay for it, I better put all of my energy into it, because they didn't have that chance, you know what I mean? And they saw how hard I was going at it in high school. Like I did a lot of great like I did adult things when I was in high school that I'm very proud of still, and have like shaped my foundation, you know, and I'm glad I set that tone for myself first, the pacing, you know. But yeah, I couldn't have a job, and I went really hard in film school. Like I really did as much as I could in that school.
good.
And I have
It's a
no
good
regrets.
outlet for you.
Yeah, you know, but I had to, I was a little emo kid that figured out, oh, there's like happy music out here. Okay, let me find Like, let me find my place here. Let me read some books that are gonna reshape my life. And also just growing up with like a mom that took you everywhere, you know what I mean? Like, I got to travel a lot and I got to see the world, and seeing the world made me want to really dive into different thinkers, you know, like reading like that The Tao of Pooh by Benjamin Hoff when I was 20. Like, that book really, that's, if you want to understand like the structure of how I think, like, it's in that book, because it explains Taoism and Zen meditation through the Winnie the Pooh characters, and they break down like different personality types by the Winnie the Pooh characters. Like, you know, a rabbit, like, you know, a Roo, like, you know, a piglet, like, you know, a Tigger, you know what I mean? Like, the just human behavior, like, it's all patterns, you know, and just catching yourself before you go into a negative whirlwind, you know, like a negative hole. I don't want to fall into that rabbit hole, you know. Nobody wants me down there, and I don't want to be down there either. But there are times that you have to be, just for a little bit, just to like let it sink in and really absorb and learn from whatever situation that you're in. But then you have to be able to like find the ladder and get out of the hole.
Agreed. Yeah. Do you feel like after all your Asian American experiences until now that you have grown and that you are in a better place than you were when you were younger?
Yeah, it was a lot of deconstructing like old schools of thought, like Confucianism, the art of war, which is basically there's the 36 strategies of the three kingdoms, which is like a very, like, my mind is built for war. You know what I mean? Like, my mom gave me that when I was 5 years old, and I was like, okay, all right, like, I'm gonna be a warrior. I feel like that's why I have like the fire sword. Like, I've always been like attracted to swords. I feel like it's because my brain is built on it. So I just look for things that resemble those kinds of tools. Yeah.
Good. If you could talk about, how do I want to ask this question? If you could tell Belinda from 10 years ago something to like improve her outlook on the Asian American culture, and maybe your parents, or like how to work with your parents better, what would it be?
Just be vulnerable, you know, be as honest and vulnerable as you can be, because nobody likes to be lied to, you know. I think some people can sense it before, and I think I've been able to live my life the way that I have because I've built this space around me. Like, I fought for this space, you know what I mean? Like, I fought to be this person because I didn't want to fit some other person's preconceived notion of what I should be. Like, I'm not gonna be who you want me to be. I'm gonna be my own person, and to just keep going, you know. Honestly, like, as much regrets as I have and as heartbroken as I've gone from certain people in my life, like, I have no regrets of who I am and what I'm doing. Like, I know that this work is necessary, and maybe not a lot of people are tapped in right now, but I know that this is only gonna grow into something bigger than myself, and that will be able to help other people, because I let myself experience things, and now I'm allowing myself to talk about it, because I had to go through a lot. I had to go through a lot to even feel comfortable talking about this with a mic and everything. Like, this is not, you know what I mean? I'm always like very used to being behind the scenes. Like, I want to highlight other people, you know? But to talk about my own mental health, like, it's a lifelong struggle. It's a lifelong commitment to work on, because I know that deep down I'm a little crazy. I'm a little manic too. You know, definitely. I get it from my parents, right?
Yeah.
But it's like it's this fine line I gotta walk between like, all right, you know, I naturally know who I am. I'm very comfortable in that place because I fought for it, right? I don't know why we have to fight for things, but I guess that's the human condition. Like we gotta fight for things, you know what I mean? Like people, they need that. Or I guess it'd be a little boring, right? I guess it gives you a little incentive to do something, to finish something, right?
People have different opinions, so you always have to show yourself and show up for yourself, I think.
Showing up for yourself. Yeah, that's a big one.
But you're good at that, and I think what's admirable is that you're trying to heal your relationships with your parents.
I feel like, you know, in this life, you're not going to have everything all at once. I feel like there's always going to be something a little bit missing, and you have to decide like what that little thing is that you're going to sacrifice, right? I feel like I sacrificed financial stability and like being a rich person, you know, at 31. Like I should have a lot more money right now. I should be a lot more comfortable. I should be caring less about, you know, like just using up all my resources for other people. But like I sacrifice that because I want to be humble, I guess. You know what I mean? Like that whole idea. Like I think, you know, it's better to be humble than snobby, right? I don't want to be snobby. But I'm trying to find like this sweet spot of like I'm confident in who I am, and I'm also humble. You know, like it's that's really hard to live and breathe, and you know, I think over time I'll get better at it, but
I think you're in a good place.
Yeah, I hope so. I'm working towards just. It's really hard to have difficult conversations, you know, especially with your parents, like, and even your closest friends, like, having difficult conversations. But you have to commit to it, you know what I mean? Like, you have to commit to it because it's not always going to be an easy conversation, even with people that you really fuck with and you think that you agree with everything on. Like, something will happen sometimes, and then if so much ghosting happens, you know, and like that can easily happen with like family members too. Like my dad, he doesn't talk to anybody but me. Like literally he's cut off everybody else in his life. Like that's definitely affected my mental health too a little bit. I'm like, wow, am I gonna get to that place too, like one day where I'm like, fuck everybody? Like
I don't think you will.
You know,
because you see how it's affected your dad, and you know you don't want to be there in that place.
My dad lives in a lot of guilt and shame because of my mom and her family and what they did. Like, you know, my dad and mom owed a lot of money to both sides of the family. By the time like they filed for bankruptcy on their travel business, like in 91, when everybody was filing for bankruptcy, like apparently the economy crashed in 91.
Yeah.
And there was not a lot of travel, you know, and my parents had to file for bankruptcy, and they also divorced at the same time, and it was
it's a rough patch.
It was a rough patch, and my dad just has a lot of guilt and shame from like borrowing money from my grandparents, like his parents, you know, that he was never able to pay back. And my aunts and uncles on my dad's side are very like the traditional Confucius type of school of thought. Like it's they're not like the guilt
they're
tripping,
not understanding,
man. The guilt
supportive.
tripping. Yeah, it's hard to get out of that loop. I feel like I say I'm sorry a lot in my vocabulary because I'm so used to like apologizing for myself. I feel like I have to apologize for myself a lot because I don't think the same way somebody else does, or I don't agree. It's like I'm sorry, I'm not a sheep. Like, I'm not gonna just follow everything you tell me to do. Like, and also I had to like
apologize for that.
It's hard to get out, man. It's hard to
I
get
know,
out. I feel
but
like
I'm
I
just-
have to.
I want to remind you that I know it's a habit, but you don't have to apologize for not believing what other people believe.
I would feel like an asshole if I didn't. Like, that's another thing.
But
you
you're
know?
not an asshole.
I hope not. I feel like
You're not an asshole for having your own opinions and your own ideas. You don't have to say, I'm sorry, I don't agree with that. You can just say, I don't agree with that. And that's not a mean thing to say.
that's another
Yeah,
something that
that's
my
what
mom
we're
and I were
taught, too.
talking about was like she was accusing me of bullying her. I'm like, you literally start every fight. Like, you're the bully telling the victim you're bullying. Like, what the fuck? Like, dude, I don't even know, man. I don't even know.
Yeah,
Like, we got into such a huge fight. Like, my mom, the fight over the weekend was she had left the gas on all day on the stove. And I didn't, like, it was like on low, but it was still like all the windows were closed because it's smoky as fuck because the world is burning around us in California right now, right? And I'm like, yo,
dangerous.
I'm in the house and I did not notice. I started getting a headache. I was like, what the fuck why does this feels kind of hot right here? And then I look underneath, I'm like, oh shit, it's low. Like, it's been burning. I didn't notice until 4:50 p.m. And I'm like, I call her, I'm like, hey, do you know that you left the stove on? You know what I mean? Like, what if I wasn't home? She was like, oh, the house might have blown up, like in a joking way. I'm like, okay, you
definitely
need to
would've-
take this more seriously. Like,
Yeah.
she was like, I'm starting to lose my memory. I'm probably gonna start getting Alzheimer's soon. Just like getting so defensive, bro. It's like, no wonder I have an armor. Like, we're defensive people. Like, it's
That's the one thing, too, is that Chinese people don't think they should say, I'm sorry.
because they want to think that they're
About-
right.
Yeah, about mistakes. They want to they teach you to say, I'm sorry about everything else. When you don't live up to somebody else, you say, I'm sorry. But they don't apologize for their own mistakes because they don't think they can make mistakes.
Yeah. And yeah, dude, exactly. And I came home and I had like my laptop stand on the coffee table. And I was like watching something on my laptop, right? And she straight up starts yelling at me. She comes in, that's like the first thing that she says to me. It's like, hey, get the laptop stand off. You're gonna scratch up my coffee table. I'm like, who gives a fuck? In my mind, I'm like, who gives a fuck if I scratch up the coffee table if the house burned up and like there was no house for the coffee table to be in? Like, you're comparing the comparison thing, like, you know, if you did something wrong, you know what I mean? It's like, who did something wrong more? It's like, I don't.
Yeah, because she didn't apologize.
She did
so
not
you were still mad at
apologize
her.
it. And then she starts yelling at me, and I'm like, all right. And it's like, she's like, and then and then she starts getting upset if I start defending myself. That's another thing too. Like, they start the fight. They like push you into a corner, and then they're like, and then like, if you fight back at all, like, they're like, I don't get it. Why are you? I'm like, what do you mean?
You're
Why
supposed
don't
to
you
be
get it?
submissive.
Like, hello, like.
You're supposed to be submissive, but no.
No, dude, I'm not gonna be submissive. And then she's like, you had to forgive me, like later on in a text message. Like, dude, it was crazy, dude, because like she took my laptop and like looked like she was about to throw it, and then she threw my laptop stand on the ground, and I'm like, oh my god, what the fuck's happening right now? And then I'm like, you know, and then she goes in, and then she like leaves. She's like, get out, da, 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 da. I'm like, okay, you know what, I'm gonna grab my vape pen, my jacket. I literally was like in shorts and flip-flops with no socks on. Like, the air is like fucked up outside. I left and I called up my cousins. I texted you and two of my cousins, and then one of my cousins hit me back up. It's like, what's up, little cuz? I'm like, can I call you? Like, or I just called her, and we were just talking for like 2 hours, like outside, or like an hour or so outside. I'm like, dude, I don't know what to do. She's like, you have to be the bigger person. Like, she was like like very helpful and comforting. But I was like,
Good.
this is really hard, man. And she's like, I know, my mom's the same way, because like my aunt is even worse than my mom, you know. So it was like we are bonding over it. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, man. It was hard. And then I came back into the house, dude, and I had been like crying with my mask on, and all I wanted to do was go wash my face. I had my AirPods on. I'm still talking to my cousin, right? And I go into the bathroom, and I couldn't even wash my face because I started smelling some smoke, and I'm like, what the fuck? It's almost like something is burning. I look into the kitchen, and my mom's like on her phone, like, and there's something on the stove, the exact burner that she had left on like earlier in the day. I'm like, and she had been like cooking up some soup, and all the water had evaporated, and like whatever mushroom or fungi was in there was starting to burn up and was starting to smoke up the kitchen. It smelled like burnt shit in the kitchen, dude. I'm like, this is literally like, this is exactly what I was trying to tell her to avoid, and she's like literally just not noticing. I'm like, dude, what the fuck? And I'm like on the phone still with my cousin. I'm like, dude, it's smoking in the kitchen right now. Like, what the fuck is going on? Like, this woman is gonna kill me, dude. Like,
Oh my god.
bro, I was like, and then I had to like go find the fan and open up the window, and I'm just like like the vent, I'm just like I'm like, oh my god, I don't know. Like, and then my mom is just like hiding and shit. I'm like, what are you doing? What are you doing, dude? And then like I'm like just in the kitchen, like holding the fan, like for like an hour, you know, trying to clear the smoke and like the gas that had been on for 8 hours. 8 hours, like I get like. And then I called my other cousin back after I got off the phone, and I had like cleared out most of the smoke. I was like, okay, I think I'm good now. And my cousin was like, I'm gonna buy you an air purifier. And I talked to my other cousin, and like I finally caught up with her. I was like, hey, I just got off the phone with Erica. And Natalie's like, all right, like, what's up? What's going on? I'm like, oh my God. She's like freaking out. She's like, dude, I'm super OCD about this shit. Like, I have 3 air purifiers. Like, I will come over to your house right now, like, with an air purifier. I'm like, all right. Yeah, actually, can you? Because, like, I don't usually, like, I never call them about any kind of, like, fight like this. I have my mom, like, I'll call like a friend, maybe just talk it out, and I'll come back. But I don't call my cousins. Like, my cousins don't call me. We're very like, we let each other independently like figure things out. Like, we're not all up in each other's business. You know, I think that's like the American way. You know what I mean? Like, the boundaries are important here. But like, dude, I don't know.
It's good that you did, because like they get it too.
Oh,
and they're gonna get it better.
Dude, my aunt has brain cancer right now, dude, and like did not take care of herself and just prioritized the wrong shit in life, and I don't know. Yes, but my cousin like came over with this thing, this Koei down here.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
Yeah, dude. I had to turn it off because it's kind of loud, but. Yeah.
No, that's the way to go, especially you guys now in California, like NorCal.
Yeah, I just bought one in white, and it's gonna come on Thursday, so I can give this one back to my cousin
nice.
when it gets here. But dude, it was so, yeah, it really stressed me the fuck out.
I mean, you got through it. I'm glad you had someone to talk to.
Gas and fucking smoke, and the world is burning outside, and it smells like fucking bonfire everywhere. I can't even like. It's so bad up here right now. The smoke is bad up here, dude.
I know.
I legit like got my Burning Man goggles, and I wore this shit out like of my house, dude. Like,
yeah, you have to. You gotta protect yourself.
Yeah. That's what I had to go through. Yeah, that was my weekend, man.
It's the Asian condition.
I just want to be around. I told my mom at the end of the day, like, I don't want to be fighting with you. You know, like, you don't have to push me away just because you're getting older. Like, I'm here because I want to be. I just don't do everything your way. Like, sorry. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I can't. Like, It's impossible. I grew up in a different world than you. Like I had to develop in a different way. Like people here don't think like how you guys think. You know what I mean? My mom is just like stuck in that world of thought because like literally she just has Chinese radio playing every day. She has Chinese television channels playing every day. She's like in another world. Yeah. That's not here. I mean, it's very disconnected from where we are at, you know?
You're as open as you want to be. But I think having you as her daughter forces her to open up in that way. Like she has to, because she lives with you and she loves you. So she has to listen to you. Or at least, you know, not do what you say, but like hear what you say and get these ideas introduced into her head. So like, it's good. I commend you for making her better, because I mean, I've heard your story a lot and a lot of things that you haven't said on the episode, but I can see that you being in her life has made her better than what she used to be. Even though she's still got stuff to deal with now. Like she's better.
The guys told me, is like, hey, like, why don't you just move out? You know, I honestly told her, I think my mom was just like, I'm just so scared that you're not gonna be able to take care of yourself if I'm dead. Like, you're probably gonna die. I'm like, you and my dad did not raise me to be someone that did not survive. Like, you guys are survivors. Like, I know that. And right now I'm just coasting because I'm just really taking advantage of like what's in front of me. Like, for me, I feel like I had to just kind of think in like a monk-like way. Like whenever when I adopted this Zen Taoism, you know, like I was like, you know what? I don't want to, like when I was in my film school, dude, like they taught us about sustainability. They taught us about like how much are we using up. I'm super mindful of like how much shit I use up and how much energy I use up. Like the world, we're like draining the world. And obviously it is showing this year more than any other year. And it's like, it's proof of concept. Like this is literally happening right now. It's like, you know, I have like hydro flasks and shit. Like I don't want to, well, this is not a hydro flask, but this is a hydro flask company. But I have like hydro flasks. Like I don't want to have like hella water bottles everywhere, and just you know, taking care of the world around us. Like it's so important, you know?
Yeah, totally. And I think it's good. I think this is the good kind of note to leave with, like taking care of our parents, even though we have to be the bigger person. Mm-hmm. And it's like, the question I think we wrote down is, what kind of relationship do you want to have with your family going forward? What do you think you can have? Because don't give yourself an unrealistic expectation. You know how your parents are. So give yourself like a realistic expectation. What kind of relationship do you want to have with them?
I want to have a more loving one, you know, without all the complications of like being clever and, you know, like I don't put a lot of value in being like the most clever person in the room. Like, you know, the person that is able to connect the people in the room and love the people in the room. Like, I don't know. I'm just trying to get to that place.
Yeah. I think that's good. You know, me too. I want to have a more loving relationship with my parents. Have them know a little bit of what's going on in my life and just be part of it sometimes. Yeah. Yeah.
I think we'll get there, you know.
You're doing a good job.
I just want to get out of the loop.
You are. I can see that you are.
I want to create a new way of thought where it's not as toxic and just filled with so much guilt and shame, dude. Yeah.
You are.
You are too.
Thanks, Belinda.
Yeah, thanks, MIINKAY. I know you gotta go. Sorry for starting a little late.
Oh,
but I'm
worries.
glad we had this conversation. And
yeah, this is great.
We're going to talk more about this because the personal experiences, like we have very personal stories. Like you didn't really even get into like talking about moving from Texas to here and, you know, leaving your job and just like
We still
deciding.
talked a lot about what was relevant, and I think the movie clip was a great jumping off point. It brought up so many good conversation ideas. Yeah. So thank you, and thank you for hosting. Thank you for being the curator of this live stream, because I have zero. I do not know what to do about that. You are the mastermind.
Yes, it's only gonna get better. Hopefully I can record it next time, but I can't be recording it apparently. It's my laptop. I freed up so much space on my laptop and it's still like, nope, I don't think it's a memory problem. It's definitely I need a PC. So whenever ADD pays out 8 weeks of payments to me, then I'll be able to buy a PC, or we'll just start the GoFundMe or something. We'll figure it out. All right. Okay, MIINKAY, I'm gonna let you go. Let the people know where they can find you.
Yeah, thanks for tuning in. My email is coach@miinkayu.com. And yeah, that's probably the best place to find me. It's on my email.
This hour is really a free life coaching session. Missing both of us though.
Helps me
But
too. Yeah.
All right. Okay. Well, I hope everybody has a great next couple weeks until we come back on, and I'm gonna get us out of here.
Bye.
Bye.
Well, okay, that's